Hello, everyone. I am really excited to talk to those of you who feel like you're wanting to be happier in your relationship or you're wanting to find a loving relationship and you feel totally stuck. So if you've ever felt, well, if only I lived in a better town, then I would have a healthy relationship. Maybe you're like, I live in New York City and it's so hard to date here. Or I live in rural Montana and it's so hard to date here. Or if you've ever thought, well, if only, men would act in a certain way, then I would be happy in a relationship. A lot of us have thought that at a certain point, like, well, if only he pursued me, or if only my ex didn't devastate me in this way, or if only, men understood that I want to have someone who's emotionally attuned. Those are big categories that I often see where women will sometimes get stuck. Location, how men treat them. Another thing is they might say, if only about themselves. If only I looked skinnier. If only I looked prettier. If only I, had my life together more in this way, then I would be happily in a relationship. But I'm here to tell you that none of that is actually true, right? It's so easy to get stuck in this blame game of blaming our location, blaming men, blaming our past, and really blaming ourselves, getting down on ourselves. And there's a reason why this happens. So we all go through this. It's a human thing to try to blame because we want to find comfort, right? It provides a little bit of relief to say, oh, I would have this thing. I would have an amazing relationship. I would feel totally happy in my partnership if only this little thing were different. And oftentimes this little thing that's different is something that might not feel like it's in our control, where we live or the men that we're meeting or how we feel about ourselves and all of those things. So it gives us a little bit of comfort. Now, I've been there before, and a lot of women that I work with, they've gotten to a place where they're not sure why they're not having the love that they want. And so they're looking for reasons. They're looking for answers and they don't know why, and so our mind is looking for a solution. It's great at looking for problems or trying to solve problems, but it's not always great at getting to the root of the problems, because the root of the problems are oftentimes not just something that can be solved in our frontal cortex. If it was that easy, we would all have amazing relationships and live happily ever after, right? But oftentimes the root of these challenges that we find in our love life are much older. They're developmental things that happen perhaps trauma or sexual trauma, things that happen past relationships, and just this pattern that we've created in our mind about what it means to be in partnership with someone else, which is hella vulnerable, right? Like super vulnerable to be in relationship. It really brings up everything within us that's resisting love, loving ourselves and loving our partner. So if you're not satisfied in your relationships, or if you're not dating someone that you totally love and you're not feeling loved and cherished in return, it's not necessarily your fault. Again, there's no blame. There's no one's fault. This is just part of being human and the complexity of relationships in modern life. It's different now than maybe 100 years ago when there was just a certain set of people, and based on socioeconomic status, you were paired up with someone and that was that. Not to say those were always happy relationships, but we live in a much more complex, complicated time. But the payoffs are also much greater, right? We have the opportunity to really find a partner that matches us and inspires us spiritually and emotionally and with our vision of our life and physically and all of those things that we might not have gotten those needs met, if we were dating 50, 100 years ago. But I want to talk about why this might be happening. If you ever feel really hard on yourself, if you ever feel stuck in this blame game, blaming yourself, blaming others, blaming external circumstances, there's something else that's going on. And like I was talking about, the blaming comes about as our brain is looking for a reason why we don't have what we want. And underneath there is oftentimes an uncomfortable truth that we don't want to sit with a particular emotion. I know for me, when I get into blaming something, it's because I'm feeling really either sad or afraid or ashamed. Like I'm ashamed that I don't have something that I've wanted for so long. Or I'm afraid that I'm never going to have it, or I'm afraid that there's something wrong with me, or I'm sad that despite my best efforts, I haven't been able to fix this thing yet. Now, not everything is a problem, right? It's just an opportunity, but we can go to that place, and instead of sitting with the emotions, we can go into the blaming because it temporarily feels better. But the problem is, anytime we point fingers at a particular person or at ourselves or at a pattern or at a certain population, then people get hurt, we get hurt, and we stay in this stalemate on the intellectual level, but we don't actually get to the emotional truth that would set us free and help us attract and keep an amazing partnership. And most of us don't want to spend time in these emotions, right? Like, who wants to walk around feeling shame? Who wants to walk around feeling fear? You know, all of those things can be really challenging, and we've done a great job in our day-to-day life of not having to feel those things because we get distracted by videos or entertainment or gossiping with our friends or eating, or work is an addiction. You know, I'm totally addicted sometimes to work. It feels really good and I love doing what I do, but I have to slow down and listen to my body and see what I need, if I need rest or nourishment or time with my dog, or, you know, all of those things. And so beneath the addiction to blaming, beneath the addiction to pointing fingers, is oftentimes just this deep desire to feel safe, to feel loved, and to feel accepted. You know, most of us have a pretty strong fear of abandonment, a pretty strong fear of rejection, a pretty strong fear of not being enough or not being lovable. Like, that's just part of being human, fortunately or unfortunately. But the beautiful thing is we can actually move through that in a way that unlocks so much more love for ourselves, for our partner or our future partner, and really creates a sustainable relationship that helps those fears disappear. I don't believe that they ever completely go away, because I think we're just wired to have these charges in our nervous system, but we learn how to navigate them with more grace, and we learn how to be more compassionate with ourselves and our partner, and more conscious in the process, which helps us, instead of having these huge blowouts, which we've all been through, right? It helps us to have more subtle, you know, disagreements and then coming back together. It's called, you know, rupture and repair in therapeutic terms. And so it's okay to still have that rupture. We need that to re-individuate, but it doesn't have to be a break. It doesn't have to be a breakup, and it doesn't have to be a breakdown, right? Like a huge hot mess. It can actually be more nourishing, more grounded, more safe, and more loving. So if you get stuck in this blame game again, it's no one's fault. It's just an opportunity for deeper love and to really process your emotions and to find the place in you that really wants to be loved, accepted, and cherished, and let that guide you instead of the projections or the defensiveness or the hurt, right? You know, that phrase, hurt people, hurt people. When we're feeling hurt because we want something and it hasn't happened yet, then we, of course, just naturally want to kind of lash out or blame instead of diving a little bit deeper. Now, the thing is, oftentimes it's hard for us to do that on our own. It's interesting because my husband was out of town this past weekend, and when he came home, I felt a little bit like different than when he had been gone. I felt more connected to my heart. I felt more connected to my emotions. I woke up feeling happier this morning. Last night when he was here, I felt like a wave of emotion, like gratitude, twinged with a little bit of tenderness because I had missed him. And I was thinking to myself, wow, where were those emotions all weekend? You know, I just got wrapped up in taking care of the dog and the house and doing some work and catching up on things, and that was great. But I realized, wow, I can feel my feelings so much more when I have the support of someone else. And that's the same way I felt the very first time that I hired a mentor to help me in my love life and in other parts of my life. So if you have a hard time getting underneath what's going on the blame level and getting into the emotional part of it, it's probably because it hasn't felt safe, or you're just not sure how to guide yourself into that part, because it can feel like uncharted territory. We actually don't really know what's happening, so how can we guide ourselves there? And it may also feel so overwhelming that it's almost like we short circuit just thinking about, oh my gosh, I have to feel my shame, ugh, you know? But the way that you break through all of that is actually through vulnerability and courage. It's through asking for help. It's through reaching out and setting up time with me or with someone else to talk through these things so that you can get the support that you need, and you can realize that you're not broken. You're not unlovable. You are enough. You're totally worthy of an amazing relationship. You just have developed some coping mechanisms for good reason to protect yourself from things that have happened from the past, and you haven't developed the skills and the mindset and the heart set to move forward in a way in love that's really effective and nourishing for yourself and gets you to that goal that you want. So if this is something that you ever struggle with, you know, imagine what it would be like to feel a sense of peace, a peace in your love life, peace in your relationship with yourself, peace in your day-to-day. When we find that level of peace and that comfort with ourselves, no matter what's coming up, everything is so much easier to navigate. And then we unlock so much energy for the other parts of our life. I mean, I think about all the energy that I put into dating in a way that was unhealthy. All the narcissists that I dated, the times I got cheated on, the ghosting that happened, the anxiety, the suffering of rereading texts over and over and over again and beating myself up for missing something or how could this happen to me, and all of those things that, again, we're still in that blaming mentality. And now all of that energy that I had spent towards that, now I get to spend that energy towards helping other women find love and create amazing relationships. And I get to spend that energy with my husband and with our life and the things that we're creating together. So whenever we get through a big body of work like this self-work, then it unlocks so much on the other side. And that's why I get really excited, is it's not just about the relationship, it's about the sort of woman you become when you create your best relationship. Whether it's with that particular person or with someone even better, it's becoming that woman of love, becoming that queen of your own life who can really make positive, empowering choices for herself and unlock all of this energy to contribute back to her family or to her projects or to her career or to the world. And that really lights me up. There's a woman that's one of my graduates who, upon our work together, she ended up starting a nonprofit that's helping middle school girls to build self-esteem and confidence and boundaries and self-love and all of these things. And she had the capacity for that because not only did she learn these tools, but she stopped these unhealthy habits that were keeping her stuck, found a great relationship, and then used that energy to create something that contributes to society. So imagine what's possible if you were living in that sort of place of really effective use of your energy, cultivating your highest self. So I could go on and on forever about that, but what I want to share is that it is okay to get out of this blame game so you can have the relationship that you want. And if that sounds interesting to you, then I invite you to set up a free call with me or someone from my team. Just go to violetlang.com/talk. So it's violetlang.com/talk and set up your free Breakthrough to Love session. And you'll be led through that session with lots of care and compassion to see what's been going on in your love life, where you've been accidentally pushing away love or blaming yourself for others, and instead what's going on underneath that and how you can move forward with grace and power and passion and love and get everything that you've wanted. So we'll also hold space for you, not only emotionally, but also about the vision that you want in your partnership and what you're really looking for in an integrated way. This is more than just a checklist. This is about how it feels. This is about what you'll do together. This is about the mission that you have on your heart to impact love around the world. So anyway, go to violetlang.com/talk and set up your free Breakthrough to Love session. And if we feel like it's a good fit, we'll talk to you about our program. If for whatever reason it doesn't feel like a good fit, don't worry about it. We'll point you in another direction so you can get what you want and what you need. So I'm wishing everyone a beautiful week. Just pay attention, be conscious of the times when you're blaming yourself or blaming others, dive a little deeper into the emotions, and then have the vulnerability and courage to get the help that you need so you can create the relationship that you want. Mwah!